How are you? Good to see everyone. Thanks for coming out. Who wants to start?
So, you mentioned earlier in the year how you didn't feel like you guys were playing up to your potential with your habits and whatnot. How do you feel like that's evolved over the last month or so?
Yeah, we've gotten better.
Yeah.
Actually about 5 weeks ago, I had them write a letter to themselves asking them what kind of growth they were willing to sacrifice and earn over the next month. And I gave their letter back to themselves after the at USC game and said, how'd you do? And most of them were at about a 9 out of 10, and they were right. They had really earned some better things. And also during that time, we were 14th in the country in defense, and now we're up to 5. And so really going over that's our standard. We're number 1 in the country in offensive efficiency, right ahead of UConn, and just consistently wanting to go the standard and closing the gap of where we are to where we want to go to. And I think we've made some good steps the last month.
I think you mentioned last year that you didn't feel that they realized how good they could be,
Yeah.
Do you feel like coming into this year because of the success you had last year that you had that same hurdle?
No, I think we have new hurdles.
Okay.
But I think they do have a sense of how good they could be, that there is special within their reach, that they could have the potential to earn that. But I think they are also keenly aware that potential means nothing. Rankings mean nothing. What you've done in the past mean nothing. That you have to go earn your improvement day by day. You have to go grab a few more inches every day, and you can never get tired of doing that. It has to be relentless. And I do think they have a sense of it, but that's my job to hold them to that standard.
Okay. How has it been holding them accountable? How are they reacting to it?
They're really well. It's got to be. I just keep reminding them: has any of your goals changed? Have any of our objectives changed? The answer is no. Then there has to be accountability for the standards. I think actually they were craving that, and maybe even at a higher level from me. And I think that's my biggest job actually with this group is to never get tired of holding the standard. No matter how they react, no matter how much I get on their nerves, no matter how annoying I am, that's my job.
During the games, when players make a mistake, I kind of see that you talk to the players that's already on the bench and you kind of get on them as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I want everybody to learn from every possession, whether you're in the actual play or whether you're watching it and preparing for when your chance comes, right? So I really do see myself ultimately as a teacher. And so if there's a teachable moment to be had, I hope I'm going to seize it.
Just having that loss to Texas earlier in the season compared to last season, just in terms of that awareness and potential of adhering to standards, does that, change the mentality?
Yeah, it hopes. None of us want that, but the last 2 seasons we haven't lost until either late January or early February, and I actually think that hurt us. I think there's just something a loss does that is really hard to replicate. Now, there's obviously teams that have done it. UConn's done undefeated seasons, and Texas is undefeated right now. But I'm just saying, for our learning, I think it was good for us. I think we needed to hit a real obstacle, get sort of punched in the gut, and have to be forced to respond.
I think it was a couple games ago where Kiki was kind of reflecting a little bit on her senior year in the past 4 years and whatnot. You've mentioned how she's one of the voices you go to kind of gauge the reaction after tough practices. How have you just kind of seen her continue to grow as a leader? And is there anything that maybe she is a little bit different?
Yeah, she's such a cerebral player, and she's a pleaser at heart. She wants to make her teammates and her coaches happy. And where I'm trying to push Kiki is to make more mistakes, to go for it, and then learn from that, but make aggressive ones. And I think that's been really fun to watch this year, as I think she's playing at a much more aggressive clip, much more consistently. And so I want her to continue to have that mindset that we go make plays. I go, and as on defense as well as offense. She has a tendency away from the ball before to sort of hang back. And I'm like, then you're chasing the play the rest of the time. I want you to go get steals. I want you to block cuts. I want people to not want to go near you because you're so physical with them. I just want to give that aggressive mentality in her and not be worried about making the perfect play. I want her to make aggressive plays. And that's her challenge, but I also am celebrating that. I think that's where I've seen the most growth in her.
How are things looking with Tamia at this point?
Yeah, I think Tamia, she got some really great news in her testing, but, I think that the kind of surgery she had, and of course I'm not allowed to go into the details, it's really important for her long term that we are really careful in how we bring her back. And so she had great steps today. She was sprinting, and I expect her to really be getting into practice in the next couple of weeks, but we will not rush getting her back.
Now, Coach, now something with her, you had mentioned earlier this season that you guys are thinking about getting her an extra year or fighting for that. How is that?
I think that we have a really good chance of having her in a Bruin uniform next year. So
is that like a tough temptation, sort of considering all that's at stake this year?
Yeah, but I think it is a temptation. But if you're going to be mission minded and tell people that the program's not about me or anyone else, it's about serving them, then there's no choice to be made. Her well-being and her chance to have a full healthy season is the paramount value at this point.
Can I ask about Gianna and sort of like the confidence she plays with?
Yeah. Gianna has been such an incredible gift, and off the court as well as on the court, she's got some things you just can't teach. She's got a confidence, she's got a savvy about her. I call her our Luka Doncic. I mean, she plays with that kind of pace, and I said, you got the old woman's game like he does. But she's a bucket getter. She knows how to find creative ways and crafty ways to put the ball in the hole. Obviously, everyone knows her as a shooter, but I've been most impressed with how many different ways she can score the ball. We're going to post her up more in the coming weeks. I love her attacks off of ball screen offense. Her mid-range game has been really good. So she's an elite scorer. It's no coincidence that the WNBA is salivating over. But the thing for me that she came here is, I said, you could have done that at Utah. But our pushing her on the defensive end and watching her grow there, defense and rebounding, even playing some at the point for us when she gets defensive rebounds and bringing it down, I'm really proud of the way that Gianna has allowed us to push her to grow defensively.
Did you think, when you were scouting Gianna, was it like, we have this skill set or like this hole and we need Gianna to fill it? Or was it just like, oh, Gianna's available, she's awesome, we should just bring her?
No.
Okay.
As soon as Gianna became available in the portal, in fact, we didn't know. I actually called her when we had no spots. But I was aware that, hey, you know what? The chances of everybody coming back from this team are probably slim to none. So I just want you to know that if we had a spot, you would be our top priority. And I don't even think she believed that we would have one. And I remember talking to her mom after she entered the portal and said, her mom's like, well, that would have been a dream for us, but we just didn't see that as a possibility because of potential returners. And, that's how this world works now, right? And so it turned out that when that happened, it was full speed ahead. And we had already decided that that was our top priority. For the way she complements the other pieces we have, for the way it affects floor spacing, she was the perfect fit.
Let's talk about your system and the way it develops players to get better, no matter if they were a high score at another school and they come here.
Yeah. I think that the reality is it's about growth and it's about versatility, and those things bode well for the next level. When we had several WNBA teams here last year, several of them commented to me that we have never seen someone still put the highest proportion of their practice into player development at this point in the year as you guys do. And I said, this is what I promised them. And they said, this is why they're ready. And so that's the biggest compliment I can, get. And I'm so thankful to have a staff. We had to kick our players out yesterday. We said, no workouts. You cannot come in. And what a great problem to have for me. But, I think that I go back to when I coached at UC Santa Barbara. We had players that, we had to find players that were under the radar and then really learn to develop them. And then the last 3 years I was there, we had more WNBA players that come from UC Santa Barbara than Stanford, Cal, USC, or UCLA. And I think that taught me something that I've never forgotten, that I never want to lose sight that it's still about development and still about, versatility and helping them put more tools in their toolbox.
This is kind of big picture, but we've had this conversation around men's college basketball of, pros essentially coming into play, and there's a player on Kansas State who's been drafted by the WNBA. It kind of feels like the rules are changing in real time. Do you feel like you have a sense of what's happening and what you're allowed to do?
No.
Okay.
But I do think that, I know there's been a lot of anger for Bryce Drew for taking that kid. I think we as coaches have no choice. If it's legal, and we are fighting to advantage our programs and to compete, and it is ridiculous. And we're not just trying to buy teams. If we don't have a big oil guy that's funding your team, that the reality is that I don't blame him for doing that. If it's within the rules and it's the landscape we've been given, we didn't ask for those. I'm sure if you asked Coach, Scott Drew, excuse me, that's the other brother.
Right.
I'm sure if you asked Scott if he would have chosen that rule or if he would have chosen this landscape, he would say no. I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing. Because most coaches feel the same way. But the reality is it's such a chaotic mess, and the rules change every couple weeks, and there's no accountability. And what they said was going to be true about revenue share and caps and, what third parties were going to be allowed to do and not allowed to do, and what MTEs were going to be allowed to do and not allowed to do, hasn't transpired. And so it makes it really, really difficult to have an infrastructure and a value-based program that competes at the highest levels at the same time. So I don't know. I mean, it's happened. Kansas State has a player right now. She's their second leading scorer, I think. But hey, I don't choose it. I wouldn't want that to be a rule. But the reality is, if I'm given an opportunity to get a player like that and it's within the rules, it's my job to lead our program to be competitive at the highest level. So I would do it.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about, you speak a lot about kind of your faith and how that's obviously guides your life. Are there any aspects of that kind of translate into your coaching style or just how you approach kind of being a leader too?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that it's, I'm not here to, push that on somebody else. These are the standards that I've chosen for my life. But I hope it influences how consistently I live to my standards and to my principles. I hope it influences how well I unconditionally love people and lead people in a principled, centered way. I hope that it influences that I don't do this for me, but do it to serve others. But I get off track just like anybody else, and I try to fight to do that. But the desire of my heart is to honor God by the way I lead this program. And that's not for somebody else, that's for my heart. And I want to be somebody that loves and leads well. Coach Wooden had a poster in his bathroom that said, "Preach the gospel always, and if necessary, use words." And I just hope my life and my choices speak to the commitment that I have to my Lord and Savior.
I know you try to be consistent all the time through these seasons, but you look at this team and it's so veteran and is there any part of you that's like, we got a real shot here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think the temptation is to worry about it, it's championship or bust. That is not our mission. I have told our players probably once a week that if we happen to lose in the national championship and we don't cut down nets, but we give everything we have, we are totally sold out to being great teammates and living out our mission, that will not be a failure. What will be a failure is if we miss opportunities to grow, to be present focused, to enjoy this incredible opportunity and incredible team that we've been given. And I just think that that's the way to be your best in that moment. We all sense it. We all can feel that we have an incredible opportunity. But I think to shut all that out of the future and to stay totally present on being a great teammate and improving with intentionality every day, that's when we're going to play our best basketball in March.
So you guys are having that conversation weekly?
All the time. I mean, it's who we are. I mean, growth mindset, being people of gratitude, and lifestyle givers are our three core values. And so it's my job to weave those in. It's not always a PowerPoint or something like that, but it's, I think, whether the activities that we have or the mind gym that we do or the language we use in how we teach, I just think it needs to be a part of how we move and live in everything we do. So.
Okay. When you're on the Jim Rome podcast, you mentioned kind of after last season, kind of how you were feeling like some burnout and you were looking like you had to reconnect with your why. Yeah. And that the team has been a big part of that. But what is? I mean, I guess what is your why?
Yeah, my why, is twofold. It's to have. I don't know if there's another training ground that I could use my passions and gifts to impact others than coaching for me right now. And then my other why is just, how my relationship with God and how that has changed my heart and my life. And so, I want to honor that relationship with God by being principled, centered, and, selfless in the way that I lead and servant-minded. And that's my greatest joy. That is not a burden, that's a joy. But it's a lot. And honestly, I'm still struggling in this new landscape, quite frankly. This is an unsustainable pace. I'm not a very good daughter. I'm not a very good, friend. It has been really difficult for me these last couple of years with added of all the other things that have been added to my plate, and that I'm sort of a CEO now, I'm a head coach now, I'm those things, and it's why you're losing a lot of great coaches. Jay Wright, Nick Saban, Tony Bennett. You have these people that are at the height of their careers, and they're like, this is not doing it this way is not fulfilling my why. And I am just being transparent with you, I am wrestling with that right now. That I don't know how long I can do it if we don't get some more consistency in rules and more help in terms of how we do this. We are a professional sports organization now, period. So you have to develop a front office. You have to, make sure you have, all the delegation of all the things that go into that. You have to have the financial backing. I mean, it's like starting a brand new business in the way that the current landscape is. And so I'm trying to wrestle with how long I can do that because what we're doing right now is not sustainable. So, all right. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming out.